Today we have a special guest in Amy Townsley with Steamatic. She's going to do a presentation for us regarding indoor air quality for a sick building. If you guys can look at your screen, she has some, she's placed a flyer up on her screen from the NADCA, largely in part to discuss what they have to offer, along with what she sees out there in the field as well and what Steamatic does. Before we get started, a couple of housekeeping notes. We are recording this session, number one. Number two is if I can have everybody make sure they put their phones on mute so we don't get any background noise. Number three, there's a chat feature at the bottom of your screen. If you have questions and you don't feel like interrupting the presentation, please use the chat feature. As we facilitate, I'll go through and I'll read any questions that come up that may arise during the presentation. But also feel free to chime in and ask questions. And then I would like to say a big shout out to our board members who have joined. We have Leslie Yardman. We also have Ari that has joined. Myself, I'm Pat Dyer. I am the president of the FMA organization. And then we also have Carol Lee Griffin, who's our executive director. And we actually have Roy, who's actually our webmaster as well. And they'll all join in the presentation as well. So thank you guys for being here. So having said that, Amy, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you now.
Okay, Pat. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys inviting me to help share some information that might be all helpful to all of us. So good morning, everybody, and happy Wednesday. Hope everybody's doing good. And, you know, like we always hear, hope you're doing good and staying safe. So I wanted to thank you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule this morning to learn a little bit more about indoor air quality in general, some steps that you can take to manage it amid, during this COVID-19 pandemic. So if any of you are, you're feeling a little bit like me during this pandemic, I thought you might enjoy this quote. I recently saw this by Winston Churchill. If you're going through hell, keep going. So you chuckle just a little bit, just kind of trying to keep it light, keep with a positive attitude. But so like Pat said, the title of the presentation this morning is Your Building Sick? And providing a guide to having some better indoor air quality in your building, be it commercial or residential, because so many of us are, working remotely from home because of the stay-at-home order and the social distancing and whatnot. So according to NADCA, and you can see the document that I have pulled up on the screen, NADCA is the National Air Duct Cleaners Association. Their definition of a sick building is a building in which the environment puts the occupants at risk for upper respiratory infections. So anyone who works in a building, a manufacturing environment, or even their home, like I mentioned, needs an understanding of these, how critical these conditions can be. So at the very heart of the matter, having an HVAC system that is free of chemical or biological contaminants is healthy for indoor air quality. And just so you know, this definition by NADCA was out way before the COVID-19 pandemic began. The CDC advises, though, that COVID-19 is thought to spread it spreads mainly from person to person through respiratory droplets that are produced when an infected person talks, sings, coughs, or sneezes. I mean, I think we've all heard that. We all know that. So, but keep in mind, even though that they pretty much are saying they 100% know, there is still so much that is not known about COVID-19. And then it just seems to be ever changing, rapidly changing. I remember in the beginning when this first came out, and at Steamatic we started researching and on all this, the CDC, they weren't sure if it was airborne. Then they were like, they're pretty sure it's airborne. Does it live on a surface? Does it not? Well, okay, yes, it does. On this surface, it can live this long. If it's metal, if it's plastic. They came out with the 6-foot social distancing rule. I have seen research where they've even talked about that's not enough. 12 feet, I've heard that just a few months ago. Now I hear them going, kind of sticking with the 6 foot. So, it's all the information, it's ever changing. And of course, the reason for that is this is a new virus. So there hasn't, there's been research on things that are similar to COVID, like SARS and whatnot, but not this exact virus because it's brand new. So I want to make it clear that when it comes to a definitive answer of can commercial and residential HVAC systems spread the COVID virus, that is not 100% known. So I want to make that clear. That's my best understanding. So I don't want anyone coming away today going, well, Amy Townsley said that, this definitely can go through the ductwork. The CDC and other doctors, organizations, folks that are studying this, they think that it can, which would kind of make sense, but it is not 100% known. But however, with that said, that still doesn't mean that reasonable and effective steps shouldn't be taken to prepare workers as they come back into the workforce if a building has been shut down, and or to protect them, if they're in there still or have already come back. So obviously erring on the side of caution will help to prevent illness. According to Joseph Allen, he is the director of healthy building programs at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. He stated that evidence suggests that mitigating airborne transmissions should be at the forefront of our disease control strategies for COVID-19. So again, I want to preface before I get any further into this, to my knowledge, there's not any definitive evidence for sure that it spread through the HVAC system. But according to one safety and health expert who specializes in infection control, he said it is critical to remember that each indoor environment is unique. The conditions within each indoor environment are dynamic. And unfortunately, there's not a one-size-fits-all strategy for infection control. And then I was looking up some other things, and according to ASHRAE, which is the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers, they stated that HVAC systems' impact of transmitting the COVID-19 virus depends on source location, strength and distribution of the released aerosol, the droplet size, temperature, air distribution, humidity, and the type of filtration that is being used. So you might be scratching your head right now, like I think most of us are, wondering, okay, so all of that's kind of vague. What kind of steps can I take? What are some things that we can do? And I'll get into that in just a minute. But I wanted to share with you, if you want to look at your screen, I'll go over this bulletin that NADCA had put out to give more of a definitive picture overview of what a sick building kind of looks like, and the statistics, more of the statistics on them in the U.S. I already went over the definition. NADCA says that 1 out of 4 buildings in the U.S. can be classified as sick, which is not a great statistic. 64 million workers frequently experience 2 or more symptoms associated with sick building syndrome, things such as nose irritation, eye irritation, headaches, and that 20% of all illnesses are caused by or aggravated by polluted indoor air. Indoor air pollution ranks as one of the top 5 environmental risks to public health since 1990. And I don't think that's probably surprising to any of us. You know, most of you are facility managers or maybe in charge of a building, even though that's not your title. And I know I hear a lot of people say, you know, I'm fine when I'm at home, but I go into work or, you know, wherever that may be, a school, a building, a warehouse, but I don't feel very good when I'm there. So I can see how these statistics really could be true. Indoor air quality, the definition of indoor air quality is the temperature, humidity, ventilation, and chemical or biological contaminants of the air inside of a building. Well, I mean, air comes into a building from when we open and close the door or windows, but mostly they're referring to, you know, the HVAC system of the heating and cooling. I was really surprised to hear that they have that around the world, a death occurs every 20 seconds due to poor indoor air quality. Now that's around the world and not going back to the US. So that's the statistic that they're using, but I thought that was a little surprising. 2 out of 3 indoor air quality problems involve inefficient HVAC and air duct systems. And that just a buildup of just 0.042 inches of dirt on a heating or cooling coil can result in a decrease in efficiency of the unit of up to 21%. And then 1 out of 6 folks who suffer from allergies do so because of the direct relation to fungi and bacteria, dirt and particulates, if you will, in the air duct systems. And that, again, doesn't necessarily just, you know, in a commercial building. That's the statistics that they're referring to here. But, you know, we're at home and kind of like out of sight, out of mind. You know, we don't, unless we start seeing stuff coming out of our ductwork, you know, we typically sit back and think, hey, it's all good. But having dirty ductwork, obviously, it can also make the system not run as well. I refer to that when I'm trying to explain it to folks sometimes, kind of like the oil in your car. You know, we don't really look at the oil in the car, but we know that we need to change it and we need to maintain it to help keep our engine running better and not as hard and running longer. So those are some of the statistics that they shared with us. And then I'm going to try to see if I can get this other page that I had pulled up. What happens if I do that? That didn't work. Give me just 1 second, guys. Here we go. So this is the other piece of the NADCA indoor air quality brochure that I have. You can see that it says indoor air pollution is one of our biggest environmental health issues, threats. It's bigger than toxic waste sites and the destruction of the ozone layer. So indoor air quality is a pretty big deal. And now you add COVID, and you know, I don't know what the percentage it is that it has increased to, because I haven't seen that statistic, but that certainly doesn't help. So some of the benefits as a facility manager of improving indoor air quality is reducing the sick building systems through better indoor air quality, and properly maintained HVAC systems can lead to some monetary gains. You're not spending money on, if you're maintaining your systems, then typically it's going to work better longer, so you don't have to replace the whole system. And increase productivity in the workforce. And I think that that's really, really important because especially now that we add COVID, you know, one person gets sick, then that person has to quarantine. Okay, but if there's other employees in the building and they were around that person, then those people have to quarantine. And sometimes when we quarantine, some people may not be able to do their job, you know, properly from home. So companies may be losing productivity for that. So when companies have proper design, installation, and maintenance of HVAC systems, that really helps maintain healthier indoor air quality in your commercial building or your home. So what are some of the solutions that have been suggested and recommended by the experts, the CDC? One is enhanced filtration. And so let me just pause right here. I can't answer questions about filtration because we are not an HVAC company. So these types of questions about the filtration and increased ventilation and things like that, I would say, I'm sure that you have an HVAC company on planned maintenance. If you don't, I could certainly, give some recommendations, but I would assume you all do. Reach out to those folks, because with the enhanced filtration, it's not a one size, fits all for sure. Different systems can handle different filters. Some systems, if you put the wrong filter in, if you put these too big of MERV filters, then the system's not going to run right. It's not going to produce the right airflow. It can affect the efficiency, obviously, of the unit. Maybe it could even, burn it up, from my understanding. So all those things are real important. And that's where I would, definitely guide you to reach out to your planned maintenance HVAC company that you're using. So one of the things that I've heard them talk about is enhanced filtration. Sure. The second is air cleaning technology like UVGI, which is ultraviolet germicidal irradiation lights, or bipolar ionization. That's the second thing that they recommend we can do to help have clean indoor air quality and keep the COVID-19 virus out of the ductwork, if it is in there. Again, we don't know that for a fact. Three would be increasing the ventilation in the building and having proper airflow. Again, what does that look like? That's a question back, to your HVAC company. I did see what I thought was really interesting, and I'm not sure, I'm going to share it because it was quoted, but there was a study on ventilation versus vaccination for COVID-19. And the summary of this basically said, fresh air ventilation has been determined to have an effect similar, of course, they don't define similar, similar to the effect of a vaccination. I thought that was interesting. And then the fourth thing that is talked about is cleaning the ductwork. So even though we don't know 100%, is the COVID-19 virus spread throughout our buildings through the ductwork? From a preventative standpoint, from a proactive standpoint, I just, I asked this question, do you think it might be a good idea to have the ductwork clean? NADCA states that typically commercial buildings should have their ductwork cleaned every 5 years, residential a lot more often, because even if there's not COVID in there, when I shared the information earlier, if the ductwork is dirty, if it has even the slightest, buildup in there, which over time it definitely will get, then, the system doesn't work as efficiently as it should. So that can increase your energy costs. Again, if employees are complaining, I don't feel good when I'm at work, and they're going home and taking time off, companies need to look at balancing out, what's the cost of that, over cleaning, over, having the ductwork cleaned. So those were the four things that I have seen in the many, many documents that I have pulled up over this, gosh, is it 10 months now? I think we've been going through this, because here at Steamatic, we've really been spending a lot of time trying to make sure that we are in the know to help our customers, or even if you're not my customer, to help people be knowledgeable, because we don't want people getting sick. We don't want this pandemic to continue. We would like it, I'm sure, just like the rest of you, let's get this over with as soon as possible. So, besides wearing the masks, besides the social distancing, besides those types of things, they're really talking about, indoor air quality and ventilation, and how important all of those things are in helping us stay safe and get through this pandemic. So with that being said, do you all have any questions for me?
Amy, I have one question.
Sure, Pat.
Can you tell us from your company standpoint, from Steamatic standpoint, kind of what are you guys seeing? And are you guys responding to more organizations out there in New Mexico that are requesting air duct cleaning as a result of COVID-19? And if so, could you kind of describe the different processes that you have to address those issues?
Yes, Pat. Yeah, absolutely. COVID cleaning calls. It's probably our number one call now over, hey, I have a flood in my building. Because mostly first, we're a restoration company and a cleaning company. So yes, we get a lot of calls for COVID cleaning. There's a couple different things we do go in, because we do have a couple of different products, and there's more than a couple, but there is a couple that we choose to use because we were already using them for mold remediation. But they have been approved by the CDC. They are on the EVP list, which is called the emerging viral pathogen list. And it states that these chemicals inactivate the COVID-19 cell within seconds. So we do get a lot of calls. Hey, Amy, there was just somebody sick in our office. They tested positive. Can you come out and help us? Absolutely. And we treat it like it's a water emergency or a fire emergency, and try to respond within a few hours, within the same day, definitely if possible. There's a couple different processes that we do for that. One is when they're positive, we come in and do this 5-step process. And where we got the 5-step process is we didn't make it up ourselves. Between myself, my operations manager, and my GM, pouring a ton of time and thought into what's going on so we can make sure we're doing it properly. The CDC, makes the recommendation of you come in and you fog with the chemicals. So our techs come in, put on their PPE, full PPE, respirators, all that. Obviously, no one can be in the building. We come in and we fog all the areas. We use that same chemical with a microfiber rag, go around and hand wipe all the high touch points, the doorknobs, light switches, the telephones, keyboards. You guys get the idea, high touch points, refog, and then we mop the hard surface, and then we vacuum the floors. Now, the CDC has not said that you should also clean your air ducts. And I wanted to make that clear, like I said in the beginning of the presentation. They've not said that that is one of the steps that should be done. But that's why I said, I asked myself the question, maybe you asked, it's virally it's transmitted through our droplets, through talking, singing, coughing, sneezing. And that it is definitely an airborne disease, and that's how other folks catch it. Wouldn't you think it'd be a good idea, a good preventive measure, to go ahead and clean the ductwork as well? Now, one of the two products that we have, only one of the two, has been approved by the EPA to go in ductwork. And there's not very many chemicals that are out there, but one of the ones that we do have, it is approved to be sprayed through the ductwork and by the EPA, and it also is on that EVP list where it inactivates that active COVID-19 cell. And so as we go in and we clean the ductwork with our whip rod system, which is the system that NADCA recommends, they don't recommend the brush. It can be a little damaging to ductwork, especially on flex ductwork. So we use the whip rod system with a HEPA vac. So there's negative pressure where we're then pulling or sucking all the dirt and particulates and, the virus, if it happens to be in there, into the HEPA vac, the negative air machine, and then dispose of that waste properly. So does that answer your question, Pat?
It sure did. Thank you. Wealth of information there. I appreciate that. Do we have further questions?
Hey, Amy, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So some time ago, I had my air ducts in my home cleaned, and I was astounded at the amount of particulate buildup. Can you talk a little bit about Steamatic's residential program? And if you've never done that and you live in your house and you've been there for a while, it's something you really need to consider doing. Indoor air quality is important at home as well. So can you tell us a little bit about how Steamatic approaches the residential process?
Yeah, sure, Carolee, and thank you for asking that question. I like I mentioned earlier in the presentation, pretty much anything we do commercially, guys, we do residentially. If you do happen to be our customer commercially, you do get a 10% discount on anything that we do in your home, be it your carpet, tile, area rugs, or your air duct. We use the exact same process in the residential setting. We use that same whip rod system with the HEPA-vac, with the negative air machine to collect all the dirt, debris, and particulates out of your air ducts. We can spray the microban in the residential ducts as well. So it's an antimicrobial. So let's say even if it wasn't COVID, sometimes in residential situations like you do in commercial, maybe some mice got in there or pigeons. We have a chemical that can kill all of that. And, I find it interesting because I think what happens is, we clean our carpets typically every 6 months to a year. Because you can see it. It's like, oh, there's a stain. Oh, there's trafficking, in dry soil from the bottom of my shoes here, in the main walkways. So we see it and we go, ooh, that's gross. There's nasty stuff in my carpet. I don't want my grandbaby crawling on that, or my baby, or I don't want to lay on it, and just knowing that the carpet, it's a magnet. For all this dirt and debris, and even the virus. But what happens is air ducts, out of sight, out of mind, right? Like early, I don't want to put you on the spot and ask you how long it had been, prior to having your air ducts cleaned, because I think we're all kind of guilty of that. We don't ever see inside of our air ducts. We don't go and take the supply register off and go look up in there. But if you did, I think you'd be really astounded how dirty they get.
Well, so the technician also cleaned out the dryer vent, and that was a big eye opener, because there's a fire hazard big time.
There's a huge fire hazard with dryer vents, and we don't charge a whole lot. I don't sell the residential stuff. I know the duct, the vents are. The air duct cleaning in residential is done, the number of vents. I think a dryer vent's like maybe $95, $25, something very inexpensive, but something very important, because Carol, like you pointed out, we don't see it. We think, oh, there's the lint catcher, I'm cleaning that. You would be shocked. Our technicians pull off that flex hose. And I know a lot of people will try to go to Home Depot and get the little kit thing that you can, put together and you extend it. But we use the exact same equipment. It's really important that, you go from the back of the dryer vent all the way through your roof, or if it's out at the side of the wall, and that's pretty far. So typically, that little device you might be able to buy from Home Depot, it may not reach that whole distance, where our professional equipment certainly will.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks for the question.
Did she answer your question, Carolee?
Yes, thank you for that information. And I encourage people to do that if they've never done it. The technician actually showed me what had come out of my vents, and I was astounded, so I appreciate Steamatic. They do, commercial, of course, but their residential products are also, they do a great job and very necessary, I believe. So.
Well, and I do too, but people might go, oh, it's because you work there. But no, I mean, I like things. I think most of us do. Again, we tend to forget that stuff. So, I really try to educate folks. I try to educate them, let them know, hey, this is what you could potentially be dealing with. And hey, here's how we can help you.
Sure.
Peace of mind.
Information.
Peace of mind.
Great. Yeah, I think, and Amy, we appreciate the wealth of information that you have shared with us. Are there further questions?
I'm going to remind everybody that we're going to post Amy's presentation on the website, and it's, if you have a member of your team who missed it today, they can certainly log in when they get a minute to go ahead and watch it. So let your team members know that. And kind of like the old days when we used to actually get together in person, just want to let everybody know we're going to be having a virtual Christmas party in December. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Coach Pat is going to he's going to wear his zebra striped referee shirt and give us a pep talk. We're going to have some cooking tips and I think share an adult beverage recipe. And I've written a little tune about how we wish 2020 would go away. So we're going to have some musical entertainment, and I think we're going to have a lot of fun. And, we've just got to all hang together through this. And I think I speak for Pat and all the rest of my board members. Thank you for everyone's support through this. We're so grateful. And, it speaks to the idea that we will get through this and we will get through this together and stronger. So stay tuned. We'll see you in December.
Yeah, and I would like to echo what Carol Lee said, and I would like to also thank our guests for being on this call today. Thank you guys for attending. If you have further questions in regards to the information that Amy shared, please feel free to email me at patrick.dyer@pmsnm.org, or you can go online and use the FMA website to ask your question, and we'll answer your question as well. Thank you guys for being here. We'll appreciate your time. I would like to return back to you at least 25 minutes of your day. I would like to thank Amy Townsley from Steamatic for the presentation. Great job, Amy. Thank you for sharing the information, something that is much needed. I know I personally use that. I've used the services in the facilities that I've worked in years in the past, and it does a tremendous job in terms of indoor air quality. So I encourage everyone to take a look at that. We'll see you guys later. Enjoy your day. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for having me on. Everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Miss you. Bye.
Miss you guys.
Bye.